This is a reading for Warren, and he wanted to know about should he consider a big change, is contemplating on maybe changing his work or maybe even the city he lives in. So for this reading, I'll be using the Gilded Tarot deck. And Warren, the spread I've selected for you is a choice spread. Now this spread normally comes with choice 1 or 2, and I've modified it to have 3 choices for you. So this is a 10 card spread. The first card here represents kind of your general attitude towards your choices. The first middle row here is going to be your choice A, which is to leave things as is. And then those are going to be different points to consider on if you leave things as is. The second row we have will be for choice B, or to look into a new job or new career. And these will be 3 points to consider about starting a new job or new career. And then the final row that I have here is going to be for choice C, so to go to a new city or new location. 3 points to consider should you decide to change location. So before I get started, I'd like to do a quick prayer. I call upon my angels and my guides to please guide me and to be in communications with Warren's angels and guides. May you provide a clear and accurate reading. I also call upon Archangel Michael to please surround us in this reading in white light so that only divine messages may come through. Okay, so the first card we're going to look at is your general attitude towards your choices right now. And for this card, we've got the Ace of Cups reverse. Now, the ace most of the time will kind of reflect about a beginning, and the cups talks about emotions. But this card is in the reverse position, so it's kind of saying that there's blocks or repressed emotions right now. What you're really seeking is an emotional change because you want to kickstart a change with how you're feeling. You're just kind of feeling that where you are at, you're feeling uncontent, you're feeling blocked, you're just emotionally you're not where you want to be. Like this card, if you kind of look closely at it, there's a different changes and phases of the moon. And our emotions always will change, as things go by. And then I think right now you're not where you want to be, and then this is kind of why you're contemplating these changes. So we're going to start looking at the next 3 cards, which will be for change, for your option 1, which is actually to change nothing, to stick with where you're at and what that would look like. So the first card you've got for option or choice A is Justice Reverse. So now Justice Reverse talks about you're currently dealing with lack of accountability, dishonesty, things aren't fair. And I really feel that this is more on your work side. You're dealing with things that are just it's not it's not fair. It's frustrating. It's some of the stuff that may be a little bit out of your control, and you're feeling frustrated from it. The second card we have from this is Temperance. So Temperance talks about balance, moderation, patience, purpose, and a meaning. So this is kind of telling me, yes, things are unfair. It's not what you're dealing with things that's just frustrating right now, but if you have patience, the balance will represent itself again. There will be balance, you will find purpose again, but it's not going to be right away. You're going to have to kind of storm through it, right? The next card that we have also here is the 8 of Cups reversed. Now again, Cups talks about emotion. And the Eight of Cup reverse talks about hopelessness, aimless, drifting, wanting to walk away. And this is kind of going with, what you're feeling with right now. This situation definitely feels unfair. You're feeling very frustrated about this. You just want to kind of wash your hands of it and walk away from the situation completely. This is where you feel you want to do. This is where you are emotionally. But the Temperance card is saying if you decide to storm through it, have patience. Balance will come again. This is a phase. And you will find that sense of purpose again. Now this is for the first option. This was if you changed nothing. Now I want to point out that two of the cards were major arcanas, the Justice and the Temperance. Now the way I see the tarot cards are divided in two major sections, the major arcanas and then the minor arcanas, and then the minor arcanas are separated again into four different sections, right? But the major arcana tends to talk or kind of reflect more about things that have the most influence on your life. Not that the minor arcanas aren't important, they are, but they don't kind of hit the bigger deals, I guess, in your life. So just want to point out that this particular path here does represent two major arcanas. So this is definitely a potential path you're meant to be on, right? And you have been on it. This is your current path. Now, the next option that we're going to look at is starting a new career, doing changes with your work. Now for this one here, you've got the Six of Cups reversed. Now again, Cups talks about emotions, but the Six of Cups reverse here talks about being stuck in the past, naivety, unrealistic. So if you decide to go with the path of starting a new work, it's kind of telling me that you will, you will be emotionally kind of looking back at what was. It's not going to be an easy transition emotionally. You're going to have some expectation that may not be met. It may not go the way you're thinking it should be going or the way that you feel it will go. It's going to be, very emotional turmoil for a little bit, or just some balance, right? Starting with something new, right? It's always kind of dealing with the unknown, the feelings that comes along with that. And this card's just kind of is telling you with this is going to be an emotional path. There's going to be uncertainty here. You're gonna, have a bit of be stuck in the past. What you're thinking is happening isn't really gonna go the way you're thinking. So there will be a level of naivety to it, right? So just kind of preparing you for that path. The next card that we have along with this option is the Death card. Now don't be concerned. The Death card is not a bad card to have. Death card talks about an ending and then a new beginning. It's a major transition, big changes. So going into starting a new career, new job, or something like that, you're looking at big, major changes here. And that's what kind of this card is talking about, right? You're gonna have to let go of what was, and you're gonna have huge transition into getting into what will be. And that's what this card kind of represents. Now the next card that we have is the Star. The Star talks about hope, spirituality, renewal, inspiration, serenity. So this is a nice positive card. So it's kind of saying, kind of along this whole thing, emotionally, it's not what you're expecting it to be. There's going to be some major changes that's going to happen. Changes are never really easy per se. So if you're thinking, well, maybe I'll go to something new, start a new job, and expect like an easy transition, this isn't going to be it. This is going to be big, major changes. You should be expecting that. But going along on this path, you will definitely go on a spiritual growth. it's, I mean, like, there's hope here. There's, like, you're gonna feel renewed. You're gonna be inspired again. It's gonna be a spiritual growth, definitely. But yeah, major changes, and it's not what you feel it's going to be. It's not gonna match fully what you're expecting there. Now, again, I'd like to point out with this option, there are two major arcanas as well. So this is definitely something where it could have big impact on your current path, right, in your current life. Now, the next option or choice that we're looking at is if you relocate. What about moving to a new city? A full relocation, right? The first card that you got on this one is the Ten of Wands. Now, the Ten of Wands is an image of a guy carrying 10 wands. You can see he's struggling. It's on his back. He's hunched over. This is a lot of work. Wands talks about action. So with this one, it's going to be a burden. There's heavy responsibilities. It's going to be hard work. There will be stress. There will be a sense of achievement, though. Like, you are achieving and you're accomplishing something because there's a lot of actions here. But it's going to be work. It's going to be stressful. You're going to feel the burden of that. The next card that you have with this choice is the Knight of Cups. Now, I've talked about the way I view the royalties in the tarot cards is this represents an individual. So in this case, I see the knight representing you. And then the page, there's the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. Now, I don't think any of them represents like a specific sex, whether it's men or women. What this represents is just the level of where we're at. Now this one here represents the knight. So the page talks about like almost having a childish look or a childish, either somebody who's young or somebody who has a childish look about them, or a childish outlook, I guess, on things. The knight would be something where it's a little bit higher energy, excitement, a little bit more advanced than the child, the page look, but not quite having reached the level of maturity than the queen would. So the queen would be kind of like a level of maturity having been attained. And then the king is what I would kind of consider somebody who's wise. Like we're more than mature here. We fully understand, like, we're wise. So in this one here, we got the knight. So which is kind of like more like almost like blind excitement, like as a teenager, like teenagers believe they can do it all. They have that strong excitement, belief, confidence a little bit about them, but it's not always founded. It's not always, the experience isn't always there, right? And this is with the cups. So the cups has to do with emotion. Now, the Knight of Cups oftenly represents romance, charm, being the knight in the shining armor, imagination. So what this is saying is like what this will do for you is it will like reignite you, I guess, emotionally. You're going to be feeling excited again. You're going to, be excited about the potential new acquaintance or the new connections you may make. Like you're excited about that. This is something that's appealing to you, or this is what you're hoping will happen. Now the next card that we have on here is the Seven of Wands reversed. So Wands talks about action. Seven of Wands in a reverse situation talks about giving up, feeling overwhelmed, being overly protective. If you look at the image, this is a guy that has one wand battling 6 others. It's kind of going to feel you against everything else, right? So although this path, should you decide to kind of relocate, start anew in a whole new city, it's going to be a lot of work. There's a lot of burden there. It's going to give you that emotional feeling of re-excitement, but it's not going to last. And you're going to feel that overwhelm. You're going to start feeling overwhelmed, and eventually you'll probably give up and end up coming back anyways. So this path, and if you notice with this particular choice, no major arcana there. So it's To me, you know, like this is, if this is path, this is, if you take along this choice, this isn't going to be a major path in your life. I think you're going to have to reroute back to one of the other path anyways. But I mean, the thing with this path that's exciting you the most is that feeling of excitement. Now, looking at all of these, you know, being on your current path, if you keep everything as is. Now, there is a level of complication because I'm sure you've heard the saying, you know, like a change is just as good as a vacation. Because once you get into a situation where you're starting to feel dissatisfied, or where you're starting to feel uncomfortable and you're just not liking where things are, it's really hard to stick through it till you have the change, because we don't see the change happen quickly or easily because there's no major physical change. While if you physically change that location or you physically change what you're doing, then you have that change right away. So it does kind of emotionally and very, you know, like kind of, it's a renewal for us emotionally anyways, and it's kind of like, okay, great, we're in something change. In the long run, it may not be quite what we're hoping for it to be. But, you know, so you're kind of, I think, mostly facing two paths here. Do you stay with where things are? If you stomach through it and you have patience, you will reach a level where you will have purpose again and it will be balanced. But because nothing really physically is changing around you, you're gonna have to be really patient about it, because it's not changes you're gonna see easily. And you're gonna have to storm through this current situation because there is an injustice right now, right? You are feeling like things aren't as it should be. Now, if you do decide you want to go ahead and change career or new job and kind of pursue that one, expect big, major changes. It's not going to be what you expect, but you will have great spiritual growth there. Eventually, it's the journey. You're going to grow in that journey. Now, that saying that, it doesn't mean that this is going to be an easy journey, and it doesn't mean that you're going to end up with where you want to be. But there will be spiritual growth. You will kind of grow within, right? Relocation into a new city, if you decide to do that path, you're going to end up right back where you're at, because this isn't meant to be your path. And although there's emotionally, this is the one that may excite you the most because you kind of like seek or wanting new connections, that sort of stuff. Like just a new environment is what you kind of would like or crave with this path. It's not going to be what you're hoping it to be, and I see that you may end up giving up on that and having to kind of come back to your other path. So Warren, this was the reading for you. I hope this sheds some light. Now, I know there's still choices to be made, but I hope that you are better equipped into making them now. May you have a blessed day.